When we left yesterday, we talked about the robber barons, captive industries. Today, we're going to talk about how they made their money, specifically uh, different methods. We're also going to talk about labor unions, which are huge today. And then lastly, how the government kind of saw things in this time and how things were going, okay? Now, first thing we're going to talk about is how did they make their money. Now, as you see here, it says vertical integration, right? And you see some words that pop out to you. And maybe you say different things, but you see firms, production companies, technology, control, supply, expansion, gains, uh, downstream, etc. And so vertical is you're moving up and down from the ground on up, okay? Now, to understand this a little better, let's see what it is, okay? Vertical integration, here it is, right? Purchase of companies at all level of production. In this case here, they gave you ACE Meat Industries. They are, right? And non-existent. But they basically said they control the cattle, they control the slaughterhouse, they control the refrigerated railroad cars, the cold warehouses, the meat packing plants, the delivery wagons, all of it. From the time that cattle's walking into the field to the time you cook that steak, ACE sold it to you. That is vertical integration. There's no profit sharing. They are making all of the money. Okay, they control everything from the ground on up. Okay, so that's vertical integration. All right. Now the second way is called horizontal integration. This is purchase competing industries in the same industry. Now the way I love to do this is if you're walking down the hall and it's kind of cramped, right? You might get a little paranoid and you decide to hi-ya, double karate throat somebody, right? And you knock them to the ground and you now have a monopoly on your airspace, right? You have created this airspace. Let's say U.S. oil company, right? There are all these refineries they have, and they're independent little oil refineries. Why? Laissez-faire said they could do it. But under social Darwinism, it said that they could come in, this mega company, and buy them out. And so what that does is it eliminates your competition. You set the prices, you decide what is there, and so thereby you control everything. That is horizontal integration, where you buy out competing companies. They are not coming into your company, you're simply buying them out. Coming into your company is something different that we'll talk about coming up next. So do we understand the difference between horizontal and vertical integration? Vertical integration, the person who practices the most would be Andrew Carnegie, whereas John D. Rockefeller was this horizontal integration here, okay? Now, some methods that they used also was called a merger. A merger where two companies, company A, company B, come together and they join hands. Now, in the case of where you are here, Snooks used to be a grocery store. They merged with Kroger, and Kroger took them over, became the Kroger name, and they shut down some stores. That's a merger, okay? Things going on there. So this is when two companies come together. You think about it, you can see the merge sign on the interstate. That means that there are two roads that will become one road. You've got to get into that one if you want to stay alive. It's that simple, right? Now, the second idea is something called pooling. Pooling would go where there are many companies and you're all working for one company. So right here we have, say, a mega trust, a mega monopoly, and there are three smaller companies. These companies take a portion of their profit and they put them here, and it is called pooling. And guess who gets that? The robber baron, correct? Pooling is where you do this. Now, this is not illegal, but it borders on ethical, like should you do this? This is unscrupulous, meaning you don't have any morals, but nonetheless, it does happen. Now, the last little thing they do is where they would actually create a holding company. Now, this is horribly illegal, okay? So what we have here, foreign shareholders, meaning they don't live in your country, and they do this. They put all their money in what is called the Dutch Holding Company. And the Dutch Holding Company is responsible to the European Union, non-European Union, and the Netherlands. This basically means that these foreign shareholders put their money here, and these three companies get their money from the Dutch, so that it doesn't look bad on them that they're taking money from other companies or other countries, because people could misunderstand that. So a holding company is basically a place where you store money so you don't understand where it's coming from. This is horribly illegal, but nonetheless, it has happened. All right. Now, why are we doing this? What's the whole thing here? The next word you have there is capital. And I'm not talking about like Jackson's the capital of Mississippi. I'm saying capital in the sense of money. Now, capital, some people could sit there and say, I can have you $1,000 tonight. Give me a second. And there's other people that said, I can have $1,000 to you right now. You're going to go with $1,000 right now. It's called ready capital. Capital is basically money that is ready to be invested. It's not money that you have to go make. It's money that you have on hand and that you can use. That's what companies want. They want capital. They want that thing there. Now, during industrialization, the number one thing on this country's docket was to control who was controlling things and how things were getting made. So the government began to pass what are called tariffs. All right, here we are. And so a tariff, what I want you to get for that, is a tax on foreign goods. And let me, so I'll go ahead and get tariff as a tax on foreign goods. And they're low, they're high. We're going to get into those in a little while. But basically here you have cloth, right? Cloth, textile was the number one thing that people were making at this time. And it cost $4 a roll. Now, British also makes $4 a roll. So how do we make to where people buy the American to support the people here to do this? The government said, aha, we're going to put 25% tariff of $1 to the price. So that when the roll comes to the United States, it costs how much? $5. So are you going to buy something that is $5 or $4? Naturally, you're going to control the stuff, buy the stuff that's $4, right? So this is a high tariff, and the whole purpose of this was to protect American industries, whereas a low tariff or non-existent tariff would be one where we have competition and you want things going on, and we'll talk about those things there. Now, lastly, the tariffs of 1892 and 1896 were very important going forward with William McKinley, and we'll talk about the McKinley tariff and all those things that almost killed our country. Now, the last thing a business is concerned is something called capital gains. That means over a fiscal year, or just basically a calendar year, if you will, they look at how much capital gains you made, and that means how much money did you truly make, and they will tax you on that. Now, businesses do not like that because that means it's going to hurt their bottom line. Their bottom line being, come on, money. Now, this is very important going forward because capital gains tax are why companies such as Burger King have their headquarters in Canada, and why Walgreens wants to move to China, and all these different things like that, because they don't have capital gains tax. They're not going to tax them. I know it seems weird, but there you are with that. And so that is how the robber barons became who they were. Now, the things I want you to understand here are list how the monopolies made their money. Go through that vertical, horizontal integration, merger, pooling, holding company, etc., tariffs, and understand how they piece these together. The next thing we're going to look at is, of course, labor unions controlling the workers.